Hello, and welcome to the CGC show. My name is Simon Powis, and this is a live show broadcast from Classical Guitar Corner Academy. It's an online school for classical guitar. And I'm smiling because that was a successful run of the intro video where, sometimes technology, you got to get it lined up. So the sound worked, no hands faded into the next shot of me. I'm very happy that it worked. Got to celebrate your victories, your small wins. So this is a live show. We have it every Tuesday and Thursday for this season, which is running through September and October 2020. And if you want to get notified for the show, you can either subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel, or you can go to classicalguitarcorner.com/live, and you can sign up for an email list there that I actually send out an email a few hours ahead of time just to notify everyone what's going on. And if we're doing some learning together, then I'll send out worksheets and links to that within that email. So that's classicalguitarcorner.com/live. Great to see everyone. Thank you for saying hello in the chat. I'm Joseph's on Roger's podcast today, or yesterday, sorry, I believe. I haven't had a chance to listen yet, but I'm looking forward to that. I usually try and listen to Roger's podcast on my bike rides along the Hudson River. That's one of the great joys of this pandemic, has been riding along that river. Very grateful for that. Robert's there. Rick is in the house. Jeff, Mr. Dave Belcher's in the chat. Hi, Dave. Judy, Matthew from Australia, the ever positive and optimistic Chadwick. Just great to have everyone. Roger Ramirez is there. Wonderful. Thanks for saying hello, everyone. Oh, lots of chats. Wonderful. So today we're going to be giving a call to our good friend James Erickson, who is on faculty here at Classical Guitar Corner. He does some teaching with the coaching calls. And we've known each other for several years because he's also in New York State. He's out on Long Island, but it was so wonderful to bring him onto the team, and he's been doing a fantastic job with actually not only the coaching calls but also the exam. So maybe I'll talk to him a little bit about that when we get into it. But he's a wonderful person and great musician. So just is a wonderful opportunity to get to know him a little better. We'll also have on later in the season Sanya Plohel, who is also one of our coaching call teachers. It'd be great to get to know her a little better too. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who wrote in some nice messages about the first session from this season, which was based on Bach's Chaconne, and we just looked at some of the tried to demystify it a little bit, and that was well received. So thank you for the comments on that. It was I was a little stressed being the first one, and then a bit of a daunting topic, but I think it was an enjoyable thing. I'm thinking, maybe you can let me know in the chat, I'm thinking about doing a program where Tuesdays we do learning together, we dive into pieces or talk about technique, and Thursdays I'll bring on guests. I think that might make a nice format. Let me know what you think about that format. On the Tuesday sessions, we'll have teaching and learning, and on the Thursdays, we'll have guests. And the wonderful thing about all this Skype and video is we can have anyone from anywhere in the world, which is wonderful. And just before I head over to say hi to James, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a filming session with Ben Verdery, a good friend of CGC, and we're actually going to try and film on the roof of my building to do one of these music videos. So the reason I say music video as opposed to doing a recording is that we're playing along to a track that we've recorded for an album that he released a little while ago. And so it's sort of, we're going to have speakers somewhere up there behind us so we can play along with it. But it's a bit of a daunting prospect. I'm going to play you just a fraction of it. I'm going to have to open up my iTunes. Here we go. Just to see if I can play a little bit of it, because I want you to share in my trepidation about trying to line up. There's so many notes in this piece. It's a tricky one to line up. So let me play you the last 60 seconds. It's a really fun piece. It's called What He Said. It was written by Ben Verdery, and we recorded it as a duo. Let me see if I can just get the audio going. Let's see. So just a little bit of that track there. It's just the last, it's a 8-minute long piece, and that's the last 60 seconds. So there's going to be a lot of notes to try and line up with the filming. And I think Nikki Tedesco is going to come over and help us with that filming. So that will be an adventure. It always is. So how about we call James? I haven't done it. I just thought I haven't done this Skype calling for a little while. Hopefully it works. Let's give him a call. Hey, James.
Hey, Simon. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Let me just get you up on the screen here. There's a couple of always little shenanigans to do. Okay, I think. Can you say something?
Something.
There it is. I think yes. I think you're. We've got your audio. We've got your visual. Look great. Welcome.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, everybody.
So.
I love that whole video opening.
Yes, it was a step up since season 1.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, wow, just for me, right?
Right, yeah. Well, the technicality of it is that when you click go live, there's usually about a 30 or 40 second delay. And so I would say things, and then when you watch the replay, it sort of cuts in, and you don't know where really it's going to start. So this gives you a nice little buffer, and yeah, it's a new addition. I had grand plans of doing like tables with little toys and gadgets and things, like a TV show, but that's as far as I got. The intro.
It looks amazing. It's great.
Everyone's saying hello to you. Rick Lord says, great to see you, James. Stephen Barber says, hello. Kerry Connery, welcome. And Roger noted that you shaved, that you had...
Which one? I think one of the clips we're going to look at today, you'll see the quarantine beard in all its glory. So
yeah, it is glorious. I think that's in the Koyunbaba video.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was trying to beat Dave for best beard at CGC. So I still got a long way to go. So
yeah, there definitely are some good beards at CGC for sure. So. So we've got a number of things to talk about today, but I thought we might just start off with, I think it'd be nice for people at CGC to know a bit more about your background with music, with the guitar, and then we can go into a number of projects you're involved with. But tell me, so when did you start?
My earliest memory of guitar, and this is something my parents told me, that I was probably about 7 or 8, and the first piece of vinyl record I ever got that was my own was the Michael Jackson Thriller album. And on that record, on that album, there's a track called Beat It, and which has a guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen. Now, at the time, I just was so attracted to this song. I would play this thing over and over and over again and pick up whatever I could as an air guitar, a stick, whatever I had. So my parents could see that there was something going on there. And then I played in, elementary school, middle school. I played various instruments. I actually started out at home on drums. And I think when my parents realized that rehearsals usually happen at the drummer's house, they tried to talk me into another instrument. So eventually I wound up with a guitar. And so I was probably, when I started taking lessons and playing just electric guitar and things like that, it was probably around 11 or 12, I would say. And that was just like learning riffs here and there.
What I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what year were you born?
1976.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I also started guitar around 11 or 12, and I wondered if I didn't know if we were the same age or not, but I was like, maybe that was the year. It was a big year for starting guitar. I definitely joined you in the Van Halen. I was super into Delta blues, like Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, also like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, all these great electric players.
Yeah, I got a lot of that stuff hanging on the walls back here. And it's interesting too, is I remember very vividly going to one of the schools I teach at now. I was a student, And I remember taking a class called Guitar Ensemble. I'm like, oh, this is cool. You know, a room full of guitar players. You know, what could be better than that? And I walk in and I had like, you know, a steel string Yamaha acoustic or something. And I see everybody else pulling out nylon string guitars, filing their nails. And I'm like, what's actually going on here? And so I really didn't start listening or getting into or studying classical guitar until I was actually in community college. And I remember seeing on PBS or something, they played the John Williams Seville concert. And I remember watching that back when you throw a tape in your VCR and record it. I remember recording that and just watching it every day. Finally, I got the video, and I just wore that thing out. It just blew me away, everything about that video. So that's really when, you know, I started taking lessons and everything. There was a time when I actually stopped playing electric guitar for about, you know, 2-3 years, just to really focus in on classical.
Well, I thought that actually might make a nice segue because you still play electric.
Yes.
Really well. And I thought that might make a nice segue into showing a couple of the videos that you've lined up. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of clicking around, so excuse me if I appear and disappear and all that jazz.
Sure. Yeah, I could say this is one of my hobbies is recording and playing guitar solos from like bands from the 1980s. so this is kind of what I do in my free time.
All right. So those who are listening with their computer on at full volume, you may want to just turn it down just a tad.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Way back, hold on. There we go. I now need to do this. We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
You know, it's interesting too. Like even just listening to that, like what attracted my ear, I think, to classical guitar coming from that background was, you know, even in those two solos, you heard like arpeggios, you heard like pedal tone stuff, and you know, I had been listening to a lot of music and a lot of players, and I was really a big fan of like a lot of 1970s like progressive rock, where there's a lot of elements of classical music, like you listen to Yes or Steve Howe, and it's easy to kind of, you know, follow that process to something like Bach and et cetera, you know. So it was kind of an easy jump as far as my ear goes of interest to classical styles.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but here's a question that leads into my hypothesis. Were you ever into songs with lyrics?
I mean, yeah, like, you know, if listening to like the Beatles and things like that, you know, I was into, you know, it's funny because I listened to, you know, I was more attracted to bands like that where there would be a guitar solo, but there would still be more of a song kind of structure.
Okay.
Even though I did listen, I love, you know, like Steve Vai, Satriani, those kind of guys too.
Yeah, I always found I got into bluegrass. And the electric guitar, anything besides classical, a lot of it didn't have any lyrics. And I never remember lyrics for songs. I'm one of those people who kind of do that weird half singing along in the car where you don't know the words and you kind of just make stuff up.
My wife goes crazy because I'll forget words. She's really good at words.
Right.
I remember words, and then I'll just make up whatever's on the top of my mind. And she's like, "That's the right words. You're singing the wrong words."
But I think there's a little bit of connection between that instrumental electric or instrumental bluegrass, what have you, and classical, because it's the same material. You're getting that exploration of music through a purely instrumental way, and that sort of maybe means a little bit more to people who are attracted to classical guitar than perhaps people who are attracted to singer-songwriter music.
Yeah, like some of those 70s progressive rock bands I was into, like early Genesis or Yes or King Crimson. It was more about with those bands, they would do like a 6-minute instrumental section in the middle of the song, and that always kind of was attracted my ear.
A question that I've often heard, but I'm not really, I wouldn't know how to answer, but you're in a perfect situation, is how does the electric guitar technique impact or influence the classical technique and vice versa?
I think one of the things I was able to bring from classical guitar to electric guitar was just really the development of, there are a lot of players who will use the pick, but also I'll use these fingers to get additional notes on higher strings. So sometimes I'm doing a lot of this hybrid picking technique. And it's nice because you can get wider intervals and things like that. And it's just a really, really cool technique. Instead of your pick jumping all over the place, you can actually use these fingers in almost a PIMA setting to get higher, more melodic things on higher strings. So I know the challenge when I first went from electric to classical was, some things are totally different. Like the vibrato is more of a bendy kind of vibrato rather than, the side to side string vibrato.
Yeah.
And also just bad habits I had with the thumb, just because of the wider neck, bringing the thumb up wasn't going to work on classical guitar, nylon string guitar. So those are some habits that I had to adjust when going from one to the other.
Yeah, it makes me think of, I think it's Wynton Marsalis that, does jazz trumpet, but also classical. And he talks about a 2-week period where he has to retrain his embouchure and the way he plays, going between the two different styles. And I wondered if there's sort of a concerted effort you might have to do between like left hand sort of positioning or types of movement. But it sounds like it's not that dramatic.
Yeah, now it's a little easier to go back and forth. When I think I was saying before, when I first started studying classical guitar, seriously, I actually did stop playing electric for about 2 years, just because I really wanted to focus on the fundamentals without going back and forth. I thought that would be too much of a distraction at that point to really kind of get the fundamentals down.
Yeah, I remember when I transitioned from electric to classical, the biggest thing I had to do was the left hand change. Because the right hand's completely different. So that to redo that, it's sort of, you're not having to go back, but it was the slant of the left hand that I had to change quite a lot. Let's take off now from when you started really getting into classical guitar. Keep going on your story there.
Yeah, so I wound up, to fit in with the rest of the class, wound up getting a nylon string guitar, started taking lessons at the community college. And then when I transferred to the 4-year institution, which was LIU Post, Long Island University, I studied with Harris Becker, who was a great teacher and really, really got me on the right track as far as, my technique goes, getting rid of all the bad habits from electric guitar and things like that. And I finished up there, went there for my master's degree, and I got really lucky with right out of graduating with my master's that were 2 schools, 2 community colleges, one that I used to go to, which was Suffolk Community College, and then Nassau Community College, both had openings. And I started teaching right out of college, and I realized Suffolk Community College, I just started my 18th year this past yesterday. Oh, wow. Yeah. And it's nice. It's really that same guitar ensemble that I stumbled into with a steel string. Now I'm the one, seeing the kids stumble in with a steel string and putting them on the right path. So it's kind of come full circle, which is kind of nice.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you have you're still very close with Harris Becker because you collaborate with him on the Long Island Guitar Festival. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I work with Harris at LIU. I do the applied studio guitar lessons there with him. And we do this yearly guitar festival, Long Island Guitar Festival, which has become international. And the interesting story we were talking about before, how we met, was I looked up the year. It was 2010. And we had scheduled the Appassionata Trio, great friends of the festival, with Haley Savage and Amanda Cook are in that group. And there was a volcano eruption in Iceland.
Are you game to say the name of the volcano? Do you remember it? I don't think I could.
No. I just remember it was in Iceland. They couldn't fly.
Right.
The smoke and everything. And we did not have a finale concert. And Harris, I guess he called Ben, and Ben wasn't available, but Ben gave us your contact. You flew in. It was like we put up the sign for Batman, and you came. You played this great concert, and that's when we got to know you, and you've been back several times, and that was our connection, which would have been 10 years ago at this point.
Wow. Yeah, it's weird when you say things like that. Yeah, 10 years, that's a while. Yeah, and then that you have some really great artists out there, like a huge, Roger just posted the name of the volcano. I know that's why I asked is because it was sort of a notable, because you can't say, we don't know how to say this word. This is gigantic Icelandic word that newscasters tried to say at the time, but it never worked. I'm not even going to attempt it. It's just full of. I'm having a brain. What's the opposite of a vowel?
Consonant or?
No. Oh man, how embarrassment. Or is it consonant? I don't know. Anyway, it's just there's very few vowels. Let's say put it that way. That's another way of saying it. It probably is consonant. I'm just having a brain lapse. Anyway,
that volcano. It's coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's doing all the things. All right, so you also we have some footage of you up at the Quebec festival. Is that tied with Harris as well?
Yeah, Harris. I always say Harris loves to just travel to places and start festivals. We always joke about that. This was from a festival in Quebec that started this past summer. Would have been the 15th anniversary of that. The Songe d'été and Musique Festival that is a chamber music festival. It has a guitar program there as well. It has an opera program. And what we do is we bring music to these rural communities, these townships outside of the city of Quebec. And I think the clip that we're going to look at, this was back in 2013. And this was actually one of the most memorable performances I ever gave, because we had the opportunity to perform at a church in Lake Megantic. And this was in September, this clip of 2013. And back in July of that year, there was an oil train that derailed and went into this town, and tragically, the fire and the explosion killed 47 people. And we weren't sure if our trip to go and perform that fall was still going to be on, and the church we were going to play in was right across the street from where the fires and everything just ended. And luckily, the church was not damaged at all. So we went and we performed, and it was very memorable because all throughout the church, on the walls and everything, were these monuments and these flowers and memorials to the people who died. And it was quite moving to bring music back to these people who had suffered such a tragedy that summer. And the following year, when we did the festival, we did a great community choral performance of Mozart Requiem, and they read the names of the people who had died in the train accident. So that's what this clip is from. This was from that concert, which was, I remember it for two reasons. One for that, and then one because on this trip, I had come down with a really, really bad cold. And to the point, one of the performances we did, I actually had tissues next to me on stage. And, someone after my performance said, like, "Oh, you looked so into it. You kept holding your head up and looking up." And that was really to just kind of so my nose would stop running while I'm performing. So I remember it for two reasons. That the very, very emotional part of it, and I remember I was just like really sick on the trip as well. But that's what this clip is. We're playing, I think, Dvorak Slavonic dance.
Great. All right, give me 2 seconds and I'll get it lined up. Yeah, great stuff. There's some lots of people sharing nice comments there in the chat. Judy said it was fabulous, beautiful, lovely piece and performance. James, Brent said it was really fun. Joseph said excellent arrangement, sounds great. Yeah, lots of compliments, and also lots of Icelandic volcano jokes going on. Yeah, it was beautiful. And so, Harris, for those who like, just to follow along, we were talking about Harris. He's the second from the left with the sort of turquoise blue shirt.
Yes.
And then who are the other members of the quartet there?
We have Laura Lassard, and in that clip, Andrew Foligno. And now we have Andrew doesn't play. He's not in the group. He doesn't play with the group anymore. He's still, good friend of ours, close friend of ours. But we have now a guitarist named Michael Roberts who plays with us now.
How have you been? Have you been able to rehearse at all during these times?
We have not. We were scheduled to go that other festival that I was telling you about, which was supposed to be in this past August. Of course, with travel restrictions and everything was canceled, and we were supposed to go up and play as part of that festival in Quebec. And we were all set to. Actually, we had a piece commissioned for a larger ensemble of mixed instruments by. It was the Laura Snowden, guitarist and composer Laura Snowden, who's done work with CGC. She had wrote this beautiful, beautiful piece that we were going to debut that. So we thought instead of trying to put that together virtually, that would have been impossible to do. So we're going to wait and just give it, the presentation that it deserves next summer. But we weren't able to get together and do a quartet piece. But actually, a lot of the musicians who were involved in that program did submit videos, and we were able to do for a week in early August a virtual concert each night. We kind of had a program with these short clips. That's the other clip coming up later. That's what I recorded that for, and it was nice that we still wanted to do something, and we were able to somehow get this virtual festival off the ground.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to sort of persevere and just do what you can in this time. A number of people in the chat were lamenting or being nostalgic about playing with people, playing music with other people. And
yes,
I guess the silver lining is that when we do get the chance to do it again, we will be aware of how precious it is to be sitting down and making music with people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd love to play. So I'm excited to feature your Corona beard.
That's right.
That appears in the next video.
Yeah.
It's pretty epic. And I'm glad it's memorialized in this video. It's like
yes. Yeah.
So not everyone, I think, there was a period in, I would say, the late 90s, more early 2000s maybe, where Koyunbaba was just a fixture in the classical guitar scene. It was just played a lot. It's a great piece of music. It's really evocative. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, if you'll notice when you hear it, it's got a very, very unique tuning. And it's an open C sharp minor chord, and I think everything is in fifths. It's like C sharp, G sharp, everything is C sharp or G sharp except where the open E actually remains. And that's really your only point of reference to get down to that tuning and then get back to standard tuning. And it's just has this beautiful improvisatory feel to it. It's inspired by Turkish music. And we were very lucky with the Long Island Guitar Festival we had Carlo's U.S. debut. It might have been, I want to say, 99 maybe, but I'd have to check the date. But we had his U.S. debut concert at the festival, and over the years we've had a close relationship with him. He even wrote a piece of music called the Long Island Suite, a guitar duo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for Harris and Harris's duet partner at the time, Pat Biancoli. He wrote this duo piece, which cool. was fabulous.
Yeah, that's Carlo Domeniconi, because I'm not sure everyone will know him as. There's you either know things or you don't. But it's sort of This piece was such a fixture in the early 2000s. I think it was sort of very familiar, but maybe not so much anymore. And then it was so played that I heard it called Koyunbaba tuning. That was the name for that scordatura. Is like, oh, you're in Koyunbaba tuning. Okay.
Yes.
And John Williams, when he was playing, I think he probably helps boost the popularity of that piece, much like he did with the music of Barrios. He used to travel with two guitars, two small ones, so that he didn't have to go up and down to Koyunbaba tuning. Not all the time, but I know he did travel with it sometimes.
Yeah, I I did the full piece. The clip we have is just the first movement, but the whole piece is probably about 14 minutes long, around there, depending on the tempo. But I played this at a degree recital, and I did use a separate guitar, just not to take the chance of trying to get in this tuning and hope it stays. And so I did have to use two guitars as well, and it's tough to practice the tune too, because you have to have a separate guitar, as you're maintaining your other repertoire, to have another guitar in that tuning, so you're not constantly going up and down with the strings.
All right, well, that's a great intro to it. I'll line it up and give it a play.
A music video as opposed to a performance, and that's what this is. And I know what you're saying. You mentioned earlier about trying to line up with yourself and play along with recording. So that's what this was. This was two iPhones in my backyard.
Great performance there, James. Really, really beautiful, and you're getting a lot of compliments and comments on there in the great playing and great beard, says Judy. Matthew said beards add gravitas in all kinds of scenarios. Anyways, lots of I think Joseph said epic beard and playing. So, but I don't think that's not your beard at full strength, is it?
No, and at that point the choice was either, I think the obvious choice was either with that beard was either Carlo Dominiconi or something by ZZ Top, and I wasn't quite up to date on the ZZ Top stuff, So
nice.
But I think it was another month or so after that. I think that was back in June. So, that was.
Well, it's great to hear you play. What guitar do you play?
It's a New York builder, Nicholas Uwano, and another local guitarist who I think he's moved to Vermont now, but Jerry Willard plays those guitars as well. And that guitar's been through a lot of mileage on that.
Nice.
On that.
Well, I thought we might end with sort of asking you a little bit about your experience at CGC so far. So a lot of people in the chat have met you in the coaching calls, and maybe some have also come across your feedback in the exams, which we're just diving into again now.
Right.
I'm just curious to know what it's been like.
It has been such an amazing experience. And right away, I was kind of, even from the first few coaching sessions, just blown away with, how dedicated the students are. And then really when I saw the level of detail and playing and just really the love of the instrument and the love of the music on with the exams, it was such a pleasure to do that and give them the feedback and just the enthusiasm in the community here is just, really, really is quite impressive.
How do you find the 15-minute coaching call time slots? How does that work for you?
I think it's nice to, just pinpoint something specific and just go right to it. It's sometimes it's nice because I'll have my time slots early in the morning, so sometimes I'll have like that extra. There'll be someone at 7, but not at 7:15, so we have a little bit extra time. We had for a while. We had going Roger Ramirez and Robert. We were calling it the Breakfast Club.
Nice.
All those guys on in the morning together, and I think it's nice to just be very direct, and finding out ahead of time what piece it is, and we just go right to either specific measure or fingering issue. It's kind of nice. It's different from how I taught before, but I really do like that aspect of it, just getting right to a specific issue, and then I feel like it's one of those like doctor on demand or telehealth kind of things, like
right.
Top off, take 2 of these and 2 restrooms and a metronome and call me in the morning.
It's nice. It's nice to get kind of a crew that is regular. I mean, there's obviously some people that change over week to week, but it's nice to get, because people suits their different time slots and their schedules. So it's nice to get that ongoing feeling.
I also have Steven from who calls in from Iowa, and that's what I love too. Is everybody, we're checking in all over the place. Martin is a regular from Dublin, I believe he's calling in from. So that's very cool as well. Nice.
And I don't think we're going to talk about this because probably everyone's sick of hearing about Zoom and challenges and everything, but I'm curious to know, what are some of the solutions at your community college jobs and also maybe LIU Post? Like what are some of the solutions you're going to be doing this semester, or some of the decisions by the institutions in terms of ensembles or private lessons? How do they look?
Most of my classroom teaching is going to be done virtually through Zoom, and one of the things they're still trying to figure out is how to do the degree recitals. They might, if they have a big enough space, might be able to do it with social distancing. I guess we got to see how things go over the next few weeks and months. But what was kind of interesting about my experience with CGC, which I'm coming up about on a year since I started, and right away we were using Zoom. So when everyone transferred over, and people were like, a lot of my colleagues were like, Zoom, what is Zoom? What is that? I never heard of Zoom. I already had, you know, a lot of experience with it, and so a lot of the features and things like that. So that was kind of nice to have already had a little bit of a somewhat expertise with Zoom. But yeah, I think a lot of things are still kind of, you know, with the teaching, I'm lucky that a lot of it is going to be virtually, but I know some people who are dealing with it, it's like a week by week type of situation of what's going to happen.
Yeah, you just have to adapt and do the best job you can. So yeah, well, we're all really grateful that you're here, sharing your knowledge and experience with CGC. I know a lot of people are sharing their appreciation in the chat as well. And yeah, we are grateful for your help and your what you bring to the Academy, and looking forward to doing more things. We need to get you come to the summer school and some Oktoberfest events, whenever we can get people back together.
Yes, I would be great. I've heard so much about the summer the summer camp and things like that, summer session, that it sounds amazing. Was
there anything else you wanted to? Well, actually, I forgot. Yeah, if anyone has any questions for James, pop them in the chat now. But James, do you want to just give us like your website address and where people, or maybe what's your YouTube channel called?
Yeah, most of the stuff's under, it's one word. It's Erickson Guitar.
Nice.
Erickson, ericksonguitar.net. And I think just James Erickson Guitar, you can find the YouTube channel as well. And yeah, so I post a lot of, I started this new, I was trying to do it weekly, but this new series that I'm doing called the 2-minute tip, where I try to give a very quick, within 2 minutes, show some sort of technique or something, a little theory concept, improvisation concept, something that you can apply to your playing right away. But I teach the whole concept within 2 minutes.
Nice.
And I figure that's good enough that someone will click on, and they'll usually sit through a 2-minute video. So it's just kind of get a quick idea out there and have them develop it.
You know, you're going to get emails if you ever go like 2 minutes and 3 seconds and be like, hey.
Yes. Yes, I had one that was like one. It was like, I think my first episode or something was like 1 minute and 55 seconds or something, and someone's like, you know, I felt you gypped me out of 5 seconds.
False advertising. It reminds me of that scene. I think the movie was called Something About Mary, and he picks up a hijacker on the hitchhiker. Man, my brain is not working today. A hitchhiker on the road, and then they're talking about 7-minute abs, and his big idea is 6-minute abs. Like, why would you do 7-minute abs if you could do 6-minute abs?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of questions coming in. Dave, who's a fellow beard owner, we'll say.
Oh, yeah.
He'll ask, do you use a conditioner on your beard? These are important questions here.
Yes. I not when it's at this length, but when it was really long, it was, yeah.
Nice.
Definitely.
Jeffrey asked, do you teach kids as well? In brackets, he asked about electric.
Yeah, I have. I think right now a lot of my private students transitioned as well. You know, we had to transition over to virtual. And I think my youngest student right now is 9. I think 9. He plays electric guitar, and he can play. We did the song from the old tune from the '60s, "Green Onions" by Booker T and the MGs. He plays that little bluesy riff on the low E and A string. So yeah, but that's a lot of fun. The kids, nice. They play their first power chord, and they're like, you just see their eyes light up.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's great to get to know you a little better. I think everyone's having a great time there in the chat. They're a boisterous bunch today. There's lots of jokes going on, which is great.
Between volcanoes and beards, and I think we covered everything.
Yeah, it's like if you ask someone, like, what did they talk about in that live stream? It's like, I don't know, it was Iceland, beards, volcanoes. Yeah, that's about it. No, really, for me, I just loved hearing you play in those videos. It's really great to hear. So,
thank you.
Well, thanks, James. I'll let you go, but yeah, we'll be talking. You're going to be. Have you already started with the exams, or is it yet to happen?
Yeah, I looked at I see the list growing.
Yeah, the spreadsheet.
And I guess Yeah, and I know that they're taking some bets as to how many are going to come in.
What's your number?
I'll say 120, 127. How about that?
Okay, so it's pretty much exactly the same as the spring one. All right, that's a big number.
Yeah. Is
All
it the
right.
kind of price is right if you go over, you're already
Yes, it is. I think Roger asked exactly the same question on Monday. This is an important question to answer. It's like, how are we doing this? How are we going to judge this?
right?
Yes, it is Price is
Going.
Right rules.
Right.
All right, James, thanks so much. And yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Simon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you to, I think it was Jenny who said no sound. Thank you. Sorry, that happens sometimes when we're switching around different things. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much to James for spending time with us today. And it was so great to get to know him a little better. We're going to be having Sanya Plochel on later in the season because she's also a member of the faculty here at CGC that we just need to get to know a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to having her on the show as well. So, yeah, it's right on 5 o'clock. We'll wrap it up. And so next Tuesday, we'll go back to a teaching and learning topic. And next Thursday, I'll be talking more about... I will bring on another guest. My brain melts. You hear these little pops? That's all the chats. And I'm very bad at switching between attention to the chat and attention to the camera. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Hope you've been well. And I'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.